Our first guest this week is Mr. Brian Altunian. He's the CEO of WOWIO Incorporated. Brian, always good to see you.
Thank you, Don.
Well, welcome to our new look.
Yeah, it's really awesome. Very spacious. I like it.
Oh, great.
Nice.
What's the latest with the company?
We are final stages of our audit, prepping for our S-1. So feeling good. We've made some significant progress in the last month. You know, it's always the good and the bad about being a public company. The good is obviously access to capital, ability to grow the company. The bad, and it's not really a bad thing, but you definitely have to make sure that every I is dotted properly and the T's are crossed properly, and the auditors are there to make sure that happens. I mean, choosing to be a public company is, I mean, it really, I think a lot of people take it for granted because I think CEOs have to really go through, you got to go through a real gut check to decide if you really want to do this, because every move that you make and everything that you do is completely scrutinized, and you are signing up for full and complete disclosure. Exactly. And that is really what, that's what the process requires, and frankly, it's a good thing. A willingness to basically lift up the kimono and let everybody in is part of the going public process. And so we're going through the audit now. We're almost done. The S1 is already written and ready to drop in the financials, and hopefully filing that S1 next couple weeks.
I don't think a lot of people realize just how difficult and how time-consuming and how expensive the process getting to the S1 and becoming public and going through the audit. I mean, the audit itself can cost many thousands of dollars.
Absolutely.
And as you said, it's crossing all the T's, it's dotting all the I's. Everything has to be accounted for, everything has to be scrutinized. I don't think a lot of people really know how big of an undertaking that is. Well,
and the interesting thing is that when you're a large corporation, it's one thing because you obviously set aside a portion of your budget to make sure you have all that handled, Sarbanes-Oxley compliance. When you're an early stage company and a company just out of that startup mode into the going from development into execution, that's a significant chunk of capital that's required. I mean, it's a really big piece. And you're right, legal, accounting, audit, even the Sarbanes-Oxley components, and you have to now put rules. You have to put controls in place, which require you're actually required to add certain bodies to your overhead just to maintain the public company status. So it's quite a significant undertaking. Again, one I've been through in the past, so one that I'm familiar with, and so it's not a shock or a surprise to me. It's just it's a process that you go through, and everything from every single shareholder's piece of paperwork is scrutinized, and they track the money flow, and so if there aren't controls in place, controls have to be in place, and like I said, it's full disclosure. I mean, thankfully we're on the back end of it, and we're almost done. We're literally down to like the last 5 or 6 items and ready to go. So
you mentioned multi-billion-dollar corporations, and you basically are having to adhere yourself to the same rules and regulations as an emerging company, as say a company doing $10 billion a year in revenues.
That's right. And our government regulations, we put things in place, and there tends to be pendulum swings. So it goes to the extreme where everybody has to comply. They've eased a little bit on new issuers and early issuers and given some sort of amnesty period. But the reality is, if you really, my goal is, if you really wanna be in the game with the big boys, you gotta set it up to be in the game. So we put all those things in place from the beginning because, I don't need the amnesty. I want to make sure that we're doing that, because my goal is to actually take advantage of our intellectual property, monetize our intellectual property in such a way that we get up there to the value of over $100 million quickly.
Well, I remember when you first brought up the S1 filing to me, you said that would probably be right around the end of Q1, beginning of Q2, so you're really right on target, because we're going into Q2 as we are sitting here.
That's right, that's right. Tomorrow's the last day of the quarter, and we're very close, and so with the Easter holiday and spring break there in the space, we're within a week or two from actually getting that out the door.
Oh, so you're going to Cancun? No.
No, I wish. But what we are doing is we've brought the valuation company back in to do an updated valuation on all of the intellectual property, our patent, and our creative content library as well. So that will add some value, will add some support to the valuation that we have. So when we go out on the market, we'll have fresh numbers, we'll have a fresh quarter financials, and we'll have a fresh valuation. So we're feeling pretty good about where we come out of the market.
So now that you've made this, or you're about to make this transition from a private company now to a public company, you've done all the preparation. Obviously, as you said at the beginning of the interview, that opens the doors, access to capital. So how's that coming along?
Well, good. The nice thing is that there are folks that like to participate in public companies purely for that, for the ability to create liquidation events for not only for shareholders and for companies, but because when stock enters the market and you create some volume, you create some churn, it does actually create some value and some lift as well. So, luckily, there are a lot of participants who like to play in that space. Where again, your traditional banks. VCs are requiring, a lot. They're really cramming down valuations. Angels have been out of the space for a while. They're kind of starting to come back in the space, but there are a lot of folks that like the public market companies for cash flow and liquidity. So we've luckily identified a number of them. We're pretty excited that things are gonna happen on that side.
Well, it's only going to be a few short weeks before we start giving you a stock symbol associated with WOWIO. Again, the company is WOWIO Incorporated. Their website is wowio.com. Brian, congratulations on the progress.
Thanks, Don.